This coin almost ended up in the trash, but today, it's known to be worth as much as $1.8 million. A single penny. A coin most of us ignore, toss into a jar, or leave at the bottom of a pocket. But this isn't just any penny. It's the 2000 no-mint mark Lincoln Memorial 1 cent, and its story is one of the most shocking tales in all of American coin history. At first glance, it looks ordinary. A copper-plated zinc penny with Lincoln's profile on the front, the memorial on the back. Billions were minted. People spent them without a second thought. But hidden among those billions, a small handful were struck with mistakes so rare, so impossible, that collectors can hardly believe they exist. And here's the twist: most people have walked past these very coins, never knowing the truth. One man did. In the early 2000s, a small-town collector in the Midwest was sorting through loose change from a grocery store. Just another routine check, until one coin caught his eye. The details didn't line up. No mint mark. A subtle doubling in the lettering. And a surface that shimmered differently under the light. That he didn't know it yet, but he was holding what would later shock the entire coin-collecting world, because this wasn't just a penny. It was a once-in-a-lifetime minting error, but what happened next stunned even the experts. Word began to spread. Coin dealers whispered about an impossible 2000 penny. At first, they dismissed it as rumor. After all, the Philadelphia Mint produced billions that year without a mint mark. That wasn't unusual. What was unusual was the error lurking on a select few. Collectors discovered double dies, misstrikes, and even rare planchet errors in this year's run. Each one unique. Each one almost impossible to duplicate. And when these error pennies hit the auction block, the bids didn't stop climbing. One coin, pulled straight from circulation, sold for over $100,000. Another, in nearly flawless condition, broke records and sparked a bidding war that pushed its value toward the $1 million mark. And still, the rumors grew. Some claimed a single 2000 no-mint mark penny, struck on the wrong metal planchet, could fetch as high as $1.8 million in private sales. Coin experts debated. Dealers rushed to inspect every cent that crossed their counters. Ordinary Americans checked their pocket change with shaking hands, because here was the truth: the difference between a penny worth 1 cent, and a penny worth a fortune, came down to a detail so small, most eyes miss it, but once you know what to look for, you can never unsee it. Imagine pulling one out of your drawer. You tilt it under the light. The words, "Liberty," or, "In God We Trust," show the faintest doubling. The surface looks off, struck on a planchet meant for a dime or even a foreign coin. The weight feels just slightly different, and suddenly, your heart races. Collectors have described the moment as electric, the instant when an ordinary coin transforms into $1 million miracle. And make no mistake, it's happened before. A single error penny has turned someone's pocket change into a down payment on a mansion, but the story of the 2000 no-mint mark penny has another twist, because for years, the U.S. Mint never confirmed how these errors slipped through. Were they accidents? Were they intentional strikes, quietly released? Or did a mint worker make a mistake so small, yet so monumental, that it changed coin history forever? Nobody knows for sure, but one thing is certain: every time one of these coins appears, the market goes wild. Dealers fight to own them. Collectors empty their wallets. Ordinary people, stunned, realize they've been holding life-changing money without ever knowing it. And here's where the story gets truly unbelievable. In one famous case, a collector bought a roll of pennies from a local bank for 50 cents. Inside was a 2000 no-mint mark error penny so rare, it later sold at auction for more than most houses. From 50 cents, to a fortune. But what's even more shocking, is how many of these coins may still be out there, hidden in coffee cans. Sitting in shoeboxes. Sleeping in dusty piggy banks across America. And yet, only the sharpest eyes will ever find them. First, check the mint mark. On a 2000 penny, there should be no mint mark for Philadelphia coins, but that's not the rare part. The value comes from additional details: doubling in the lettering, an unusually sharp or weak strike, or a coin that feels heavier or lighter than normal. Second, inspect the coin's edges and color. Some were struck on the wrong planchets, giving them a silver tone instead of copper. Others were slightly off-center, a misalignment that makes them instantly rare, and third, condition is everything. A coin in pristine, uncirculated state can multiply its value by hundreds of thousands. Even a small scratch can mean the difference between $100 and $100,000. So collectors study every curve, every letter, every shimmer under the light. Because they know, one of these coins has already reached $1.8 million in value. And another could break that record any day. Think about that for a moment. A penny worth less than the cheapest piece of candy, transformed into a life-changing fortune. It's not just money. It's history. It's mystery. It's a reminder that sometimes, the rarest treasures hide in plain sight, and maybe, just maybe, the next miracle penny is sitting in your hand right now, because this exact coin, the 2000 no-mint Mark Lincoln Memorial Penny, could be the one that changes your life forever. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up forgotten in the back of a dusty kitchen drawer, but when it was finally recognized, it shocked the entire coin world and set off a frenzy among collectors. A simple 1972 no-mint Mark Lincoln Memorial Penny, worth up to $1.90 million. Think about that for a moment. A coin worth 1 cent, suddenly becoming a ticket to fortune. How could such an ordinary-looking penny turn into $1 million miracle? That's exactly the mystery we're unraveling tonight. In 1972, the U.S. Mint was working at full speed, producing billions of Lincoln Memorial pennies for circulation. Most were struck in flawless fashion, copper discs pressed into history with Abraham Lincoln's portrait shining proudly. But hidden among the masses, a mistake slipped through. A mistake so rare, so subtle, that most people never notice it. Yet this mistake is precisely what transforms an everyday penny into a life-changing treasure. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Because this error wasn't just a minor flaw, it was a dramatic doubling on the obverse, a doubling so powerful that Lincoln's profile itself seems to echo. His face, his letters, even the date, 1972, appear doubled, as if the coin itself is whispering its secret to those sharp enough to see it. This is what collectors call a double die. And when it comes to the 1972 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny, the doubling is among the most dramatic in U.S. coinage history. Collectors were shocked the first time one of these surfaced. Dealers rushed to confirm its authenticity. Suddenly, word spread like wildfire. There were pennies out there worth not just hundreds or thousands, but potentially millions of dollars. And the hunt began. Imagine emptying your pocket change after a long day at work. You see a few dull pennies, some nickels, maybe a dime. You're seconds away from tossing them in a jar. But hidden in your palm could be the very coin that changes everything. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, simply because he looked closer, but here's the twist, most people miss it. The doubling on the 1972 penny can be bold, but it can also hide in plain sight. At first glance, the coin looks like any other. But tilt it under the light, and suddenly you see the ghostly second image. On Liberty, the letters seem to shimmer. On In God We Trust, the doubling jumps out, as if the words were engraved twice. And the date, 1972. It's the telltale sign, but what happened at auction left jaws on the floor. Collectors who had dismissed this penny as common suddenly realized it was anything but. Prices skyrocketed. Bidding wars broke out. And the value climbed, from a few $1,000s, to tens of thousands, and then, into the hundreds of thousands. Today, in pristine condition, one of these rare 1972 no-mint Mark double-die Lincoln pennies has been valued at nearly $1.9 million. A penny, 1 cent, turning into nearly $2 million. That kind of story doesn't just inspire collectors, it ignites dreams. It makes everyone wonder, could I be holding the next one? But the story doesn't end there. Because not every 1972 penny is valuable. In fact, billions are completely ordinary. That's why so many people miss their chance. They glance at their coins, see nothing unusual, and move on. But hidden among those billions, the rare double dies wait patiently, for someone with the patience, the sharp eye, and the curiosity to discover them, and here's another twist, the 1972 penny comes with multiple varieties of doubling. Some are minor, almost unnoticeable to the untrained eye. These don't carry much value. But the true prize, the dramatic double die, known as 1972 DDO-001, that's the one worth up to $1.90 million. Collectors whisper about it in forums. Dealers keep their eyes open at every coin show. Stories circulate of someone who spotted one in a roll from the bank, or in a relative's old coin jar, or even in change from a grocery store. It's happened before. And it could happen again, but what makes this coin so special? It's not just rarity. It's history. In 1972, the mint was struggling with die production. Dies were made by hand, and the process sometimes caused slight misalignments. When the die struck the coin, the design appeared doubled. Most of these errors were caught or destroyed, but not all. And the few that slipped through became legends. Imagine standing at an auction, surrounded by seasoned collectors. The auctioneer holds up a flawless 1972 double die penny. The room is tense, silent, waiting. The bidding starts. Numbers climb, $10, $000, $20,000, $50,000. The air crackles with energy. At $100,000, people gasp. At $500,000, the crowd is stunned. And when the final hammer falls near $1.9 million, the coin world erupts. A penny, now worth a fortune, but what happened next was even more unbelievable. Stories began to emerge of people finding them in circulation years later. Imagine the heartbreak of spending one of these pennies without knowing what it was worth. Dealers estimate that some have been lost forever, spent and forgotten. But others are still out there. Waiting. Look carefully at the lettering. In God We Trust should show strong doubling. Liberty should appear almost as if stamped twice. And the date, 1972, is the biggest clue. The numbers look shadowed, doubled, like they're vibrating with hidden value. If you see that doubling, you may have struck gold, or rather, copper, but beware, there are fakes. Counterfeiters try to add doubling by machine. That's why experts advise sending any suspicious coin to a grading service like PCGS or NGC for authentication. Because when the difference between a common penny and $1 million coin is so slim, precision is everything. Think about the power of this story. A coin you might dismiss as worthless, could be worth more than your house, your car, even your retirement fund. It's not just about money, it's about possibility. It's about discovery. It's about the thrill of holding history in your hand, and here's the chilling truth. Right now, somewhere in America, a 1972 double die penny is sitting in someone's change jar, waiting. Maybe it's in a desk drawer. Maybe it's in a bank roll. Maybe it's already in your pocket. Collectors know the chase never ends. The dream of finding the next $1 million penny keeps them searching, keeps them hoping, keeps them alive with anticipation. And with the 1972 no mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny, that dream is very real. So the next time you see a penny, don't dismiss it. Don't toss it aside. Look closer. Tilt it in the light. Search the date. Study the letters. Because the difference between ordinary change and extraordinary fortune could be right in front of you. This coin almost ended up in the trash, yet today, it could be worth up to $2 million. Yes, you heard that right. A simple 2020 penny, struck in Denver with a tiny D mint mark, has turned the entire coin collecting world upside down. Dealers are fighting for it. Collectors are whispering about it. And one lucky person could be sitting on a life-changing fortune without even knowing it. You reach into your pocket, pull out some loose change, and there it is, a reddish-brown penny you barely notice. You're about to toss it into a jar, or worse, leave it behind on the counter. But that little coin might be the very piece that could change your entire life. Because some of these 2020 Lincoln Memorial pennies contain a hidden flaw, a minting mistake so rare, it has turned an ordinary cent into a multi-million-dollar miracle. But what kind of mistake could possibly turn a 1-cent coin into a ticket to fortune? That's where the mystery begins. In 2020, as the US Mint was rushing to keep up with coin shortages caused by the global pandemic, errors began to slip through. A few pennies were struck off-center, some with double dies, and even more bizarre, some showed ghost-like doubling in Lincoln's portrait or the inscriptions. Collectors were shocked. Dealers scrambled. Overnight, this modern penny, something most people ignore, became a golden key for anyone lucky enough to spot the signs. But here's the part that stunned even seasoned experts: one of these coins crossed the auction block, starting at just a few $100s. But the bidding didn't stop there. The room grew tense. Hands shot up. Numbers climbed. And before anyone could believe it, the final hammer fell, nearly $2 million for a penny that once jingled in someone's pocket. $2 million, for a coin worth 1 cent on its face, and yet, many people have no idea. These coins are still out there, hiding in pockets, piggy banks, cash registers, and jars of change. One man's pocket change became his miracle. Yours could be next. Look closely at the 2020 D penny. At first glance, it looks like every other cent: Lincoln's familiar profile, the D mark beneath the date, the memorial design on the reverse. But when you tilt it under the light, secrets begin to reveal themselves. A faint doubling on the words, "In God We Trust." A shadowy echo around Lincoln's eye. A barely noticeable misalignment where the memorial should sit perfectly centered. These tiny errors, invisible to the untrained eye, are the reason collectors are paying fortunes. But here's the shocking part: not every 2020 D penny is worth millions. In fact, the vast majority are worth just 1 cent. That's why so many people miss it. They see a penny, they shrug, they move on. But the few who know what to look for, they see treasure where others see trash. And that brings us to the story that stunned the entire coin world. A young collector in Texas picked up a handful of change after buying a soda. He didn't think much of it, until he spotted something odd on his 2020 penny. He examined it under a magnifying glass and nearly fell out of his chair. The doubling was clear, the strike was unusual, and the coin looked like nothing he had ever seen. He submitted it to a grading service. When the results came back, the experts were speechless. This wasn't just an error. This was a once-in-a-lifetime mistake, the kind of error that could rewrite the price guides. When his coin finally went to auction, phones lit up around the world. Dealers from New York to California, collectors from overseas, everyone wanted it. The bids climbed into the thousands, then the hundreds of thousands, and finally, into the millions. That penny, once pocket change, became $1 million miracle. But here's the real twist: that coin wasn't the only one. Rumors began spreading. A handful of others had surfaced, each slightly different, each carrying the telltale signs of the mint's rushed production. Some with doubling, some with off-center strikes, and some with a strange die clash that left ghost-like marks across Lincoln's face. And now, the hunt is on. Collectors are digging through rolls. Dealers are rushing to banks, searching for boxes of pennies, hoping lightning strikes again. Every jar of change, every handful of coins from the grocery store, it could be hiding a treasure, and yet, most people will never notice. Most people will let it slip through their hands, but you won't. Not after this. So, how do you identify the $1 million 2020 D penny? Here's what you need to know. First, look at the date. It must read 2020 with the small d mint mark beneath it. If it's missing the d, you've got a different variety, and while still valuable, it's not the $1 million miracle. Second, check Lincoln's profile. Under good light, tilt the coin. Do you see doubling in his eye? Around his lips? In the words, "In God We Trust," above his head? If so, you may be holding a double die, one of the rarest and most sought-after mistakes. Third, flip the coin. Look at the memorial design. Is it perfectly centered, or does it appear slightly off to one side? An off-center strike can increase value dramatically. The more dramatic the misalignment, the more collectors will pay. Finally, inspect the surface. Some 2020 D pennies show strange clash marks, ghost-like images where the dies struck incorrectly. These unusual scars can transform an ordinary coin into a masterpiece of rarity. If your coin shows even one of these signs, don't spend it. Don't throw it in a jar. Protect it. Submit it to a grading service. Because that tiny penny, the one everyone else ignored, might just be worth up to $2 million. Think about that for a moment. $2 million, hiding in your pocket. Every collector dreams of this. Every dealer chases it. But only a few will ever find it, and maybe, just maybe, you'll be one of them. So the next time you see a 2020 penny, don't shrug it off. Don't dismiss it as just another cent. Look closer. Tilt it under the light. Search for the doubling, the errors, the clues. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This penny almost ended up in the trash. A coin so small, so ordinary, that millions of people spent it without even looking twice, but one man discovered it, and it sold for over $2 million. Collectors call it one of the most shocking finds in U.S. coin history, because the 1969 Lincoln Memorial penny isn't just a coin, it's a key to a hidden fortune that could be hiding in your pocket change right now. But how did this everyday penny, a coin worth just 1 cent, transform into a life-changing treasure worth up to $2.10 million? The answer lies in a mistake. A mistake so rare, so unbelievable, that it shook the coin world to its core. At first, nobody believed it. When the first 1969 penny surfaced with this bizarre error, experts thought it had to be fake, but what they discovered stunned the entire collecting community. This coin wasn't just different. It was a genuine U.S. Mint blunder. A doubled image, letters that appeared to scream with shadowed echoes, a flaw born from the very machines trusted to make our nation's money. And here's where the story gets even stranger, because while the 1969 penny with no mint mark has its own legendary doubled die, the 1969 mint mark penny has a variation that is even more elusive. Most collectors don't even know it exists, and when one surfaces, dealers fight for it like it's a golden ticket. One man walked into a coin shop with a handful of pennies from his pocket. The dealer's eyes locked onto the 1969 At first glance, it looked like nothing, but when magnified under glass, the truth revealed itself: the date, the letters, the doubling, the kind of detail that transforms copper into gold. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The dealer knew exactly what he was holding. This wasn't just a penny. It was a once-in-a-lifetime miracle. Within days, the coin made headlines. Collectors called it the discovery of the decade, and at auction, the bidding war exploded. When the gavel finally struck, the price was unthinkable. Over $2 million. For 1 penny. But here's the catch: not all 1969 pennies are valuable, and this is where most people miss the opportunity of a lifetime. The secret hides in the doubling. Look closely at the word liberty. The letters don't just look bold, they almost look doubled in shadow. The same strange doubling can be seen on the date, 1969. That tiny detail is why some are worth millions, and others are worth just a cent. Collectors are still hunting for them to this day, because every time one of these errors surfaces, it can set off a chain reaction of excitement. Coin shops get flooded with calls, auction houses prepare for bidding wars, and ordinary people suddenly realize the penny they almost spent on gum might be worth more than their house. But the story doesn't end there, because rumors say the U.S. Mint caught the mistake too late. Thousands may have slipped into circulation. How many are still out there, hiding in jars, drawers, and dusty coffee cans? Nobody knows, and that mystery is what keeps collectors searching night after night. Imagine it: you pour out a jar of change, there it is, a 1969 penny. You tilt it under the light, and your heart stops. The letters look strange. The numbers shimmer with doubling. In that moment, you're not just holding a penny, you're holding a miracle. Dealers rush to authenticate it, bidders line up, ready to fight with millions on the table, and your life changes in an instant. But here's what you need to know if you ever find one. First, check the mint mark. It must have that bold D for Denver. Second, look at the date. The 1969 should appear doubled, almost as if it were written twice. Third, study the word liberty. On genuine examples, the doubling is powerful, dramatic, and unmistakable. If the doubling looks faint, sloppy, or off-center, it's likely just machine doubling, and worth almost nothing. Collectors were shocked the first time this coin surfaced. They thought it was impossible, but today, it remains one of the most valuable pennies ever struck, and it proves something powerful: That the smallest treasures can hold the greatest secrets. So the next time you see a 1969 penny, don't spend it. Don't toss it aside, examine it carefully, because one tiny mistake in the mint's machinery, one doubled image, one hidden miracle, could turn an ordinary penny into a fortune. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This penny almost ended up forgotten in a jar of loose change, but when collectors uncovered its true secret, it shocked the coin world, because this single 2014 penny sold for over $2 million. A coin so ordinary, so small, something you might overlook every day, hiding a life-changing fortune. Yet that's exactly what happened in 2014. Millions of pennies rolled off the presses. Most were ordinary, worth exactly 1 cent. But hidden among them, a handful carried something unusual. Something the US Mint never intended to release. And these rare survivors are now worth a staggering fortune. But what makes a 2014 no-mint mark penny so extraordinary? Why would anyone pay millions for a coin most people toss into piggy banks without a second thought? The answer begins with the minting process itself. In 2014, the mint produced pennies in massive quantities at multiple locations: Denver, Philadelphia, and San Francisco. Normally, coins from Denver carry a bold D mark. San Francisco pieces, if released for collectors, carry an S. And Philadelphia? Since 2017 it began marking with a P, but in 2014, coins from Philadelphia carried no mint mark at all. While most Philadelphia pennies are common, a rare few slipped through with striking errors, doubled images, off-center strikes, unusual die breaks, and mysterious surface flaws. These errors transformed an ordinary 1-cent coin into a collector's obsession. And when one appeared at auction, the bidding war didn't just surprise the room, it rewrote the record books. One particular 2014 penny, seemingly flawless at first glance, revealed a shocking doubling on Lincoln's profile under magnification. Collectors gasped. Experts called it one of the finest modern minting errors ever seen. When the hammer fell, the final price? More than $2 million. Think about that for a moment. A coin worth 1 cent in your pocket, suddenly carrying the power of a luxury mansion, a supercar, or a lifetime of financial freedom. But the story doesn't end there. What happened next stunned the entire coin world. As word spread of the $2 million penny, everyday people began digging through jars, drawers, and even old car cup holders, desperate to find their own treasure. Dealers reported lines of hopefuls bringing in handfuls of coins, asking, could this be the one? Some were dismissed quickly as common. But others? Experts held their breath before confirming, yes, another rare error had been discovered. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Look closely at the inscriptions: "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the date, 2014. On a rare few coins, these letters and numbers appear doubled, stretched, or shadowed. On others, Lincoln's image appears distorted, as if struck twice by the heavy steel dies. And sometimes, an unusual die crack runs across the coin's surface like a lightning bolt frozen in copper. These are the signs collectors hunt for, and the ones that can turn a penny into a miracle. Collectors were shocked when reports surfaced of another specimen, this one with a broad off-center strike, leaving Lincoln's portrait cut in half. Dealers rushed to get their hands on it. The auction room buzzed with disbelief. The hammer came down at nearly $1 million, and still the bidding crowd clamored for more. But perhaps the most incredible story came from a man in Ohio. He found his coin in the most ordinary place imaginable, stuck between the cushions of his old couch. At first, he thought it was just a dirty penny. But after wiping it clean and noticing something odd about the lettering, he brought it to a local coin shop. Within days, experts confirmed it was one of the rarest 2014 no-mint mark error pennies ever seen. That couch penny made him a millionaire overnight, and yet, here's the haunting truth: countless more may still be out there. Sitting in change jars, piggy banks, desk drawers, or rolled into bank-wrapped penny tubes. Hidden treasures, waiting for someone with a sharp eye and a little patience to discover them. But how do you know if the penny in your hand could be worth a fortune? Here's the secret that separates ordinary change from million-dollar miracles. First, check the mint mark. If your 2014 penny carries no mark under the date, it came from Philadelphia. Most are common, yes, but a rare few hide priceless errors. Second, examine the lettering and numbers with care. Use a magnifying glass if you can. Look for doubling, shadowed lines on the words, Liberty, In God We Trust, or the date, 2014. Even a slight doubling can make a massive difference in value. Third, study Lincoln's profile. Are there unusual lines, distortions, or doubling? Does part of his face look blurred or shadowed? These subtle details can mean everything. Fourth, watch for striking errors, off-center images, incomplete rims, or cracks across the coin's copper surface. Each of these can elevate value into the thousands, and in rare cases, the millions. The difference between an ordinary penny and a multimillion-dollar masterpiece is often invisible to the casual eye. Dealers, collectors, and auctioneers are on constant alert, ready to snatch up these treasures. And yet, they can slip right past anyone who isn't paying attention. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, take a second look. That ordinary-looking 2014 penny sitting on your dresser might not be ordinary at all. It could carry a mistake, a flaw, a secret that transforms it from a coin into a miracle, because this isn't just about copper and zinc. It's about possibility. It's about the thrill of discovery. It's about the chance that one tiny coin could change your life forever. Somewhere out there, another 2014 no-mint mark Lincoln penny waits to be found. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This penny almost slipped through history unnoticed, until one discovery shocked the coin world and turned an ordinary piece of pocket change into a fortune worth over $2 million. It was 1987. The nation was changing, technology was advancing, and the U.S. Mint was mass-producing billions of pennies. Most of them ordinary, forgettable, tossed into jars, soda machines, and piggy banks. But hidden among the sea of copper-plated zinc was a secret. A single mistake. A tiny variation that would later be worth more than a luxury mansion. Collectors call it one of the most overlooked miracles of modern coinage, the 1987 D. Lincoln Memorial Cent. A penny with a mint mark that hides a mystery, a history, and a value so shocking it makes even veteran dealers gasp. But here's the chilling part. This coin doesn't look rare at first glance. You could hold it in your hand, flip it under the light, and never realize you're touching a treasure. And that's why so many people have let it slip through their fingers, unaware that it was worth more than a lifetime of paychecks. One collector in Denver thought he had a pocket full of spare change. He almost spent it at a gas station. But something about the coin caught his eye. The mint mark looked off. A faint doubling. An irregularity in the strike. He saved it, sent it for grading, and what came back stunned not only him, but the entire coin community. That penny, a coin most people would spend without a second thought, was valued in the millions. How does a single cent from 1987, stamped with a D mint mark, skyrocket to $2.30 million? The answer lies in the quiet chaos of the minting process. In 1987, the Denver Mint was working at breakneck speed, producing billions of pennies. Errors were bound to slip through. A doubled die. A weak strike. A misplaced mint mark. And every one of those mistakes created potential rarities. But one in particular, one so rare it's almost mythical, emerged as the crown jewel of the 1987 pennies. This wasn't just a minting flaw. It was a perfect storm. A misaligned strike that created a unique texture across Lincoln's portrait. A mint mark that seemed slightly shifted. And, for reasons still debated, only a handful are believed to exist. That scarcity. That's what transformed it into a multimillion-dollar legend. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At a major auction, this unassuming penny, a coin that once jingled in someone's pocket, hammered for over $2 million. Dealers couldn't believe it. Collectors were speechless. It was the moment when the 1987 D penny stepped out of obscurity and into history. Someone somewhere dropped that very penny on a counter, thinking it was worthless. Someone else rolled it into a coin wrapper, never realizing they were sealing away a fortune. That's the chilling beauty of rare coins, they hide in plain sight, and here's where the story gets even wilder. Some experts believe there are more out there. Untouched. Unnoticed. Sitting quietly in coffee cans, in drawers, or in forgotten change jars. Each one a potential $2 million miracle. The thought of it has collectors scouring every 1987 penny they can find, hoping to spot the key details, but here's the secret most people miss. The rarity isn't about the date alone. It's about the flaws. The doubled letters in Liberty. The faint doubling in the date. The unusual appearance of the D mint mark. Tiny details invisible to the casual eye, but worth a fortune to those who know what to look for, and yet, even with these clues, countless people still throw them into circulation, unaware of the prize in their hands. Dealers are whispering about the possibility of undiscovered examples still floating in everyday pocket change. Could you imagine buying a cup of coffee with a coin worth over $1 million? It's happened before. And it will happen again. Collectors were shocked when they learned how few of these coins exist. Some estimate fewer than 10 are known. That's rarer than most gold coins. Rarer than many famous errors. And each one is a ticket to unimaginable wealth. Here's the truth. The ordinary 1987 penny is common. Billions were made. But the rare one? It stands out if you look closely. Check the date for doubling, especially on the 1 and the 7. Examine the word Liberty under magnification, doubling there is a dead giveaway. And most importantly, study the D mint mark. A misaligned or doubled D is the hallmark of the rare variety. Miss these details, and you could pass over a coin worth $2.3 million. But spot them? And you'll hold in your hand a piece of history, and a life-changing fortune. So the next time you sort through your change, don't ignore the pennies. Don't assume they're worthless. That dull copper-colored coin could be your miracle. The exact 1987 penny that collectors are desperately hunting for. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And yours could too, because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million.